Okay, the session is now recorded, and if you are with us and if you have any, business or engagement to go for during the session, you may come back for the recorded version of the LITU webinar on our LITU YouTube channel. Okay, once again, LITU YouTube channel. If you subscribe to the channel, you will not miss any webinar or any good videos at all with clips on language teaching and research. Okay, so right, once again, welcome to the Language Institute, Thammasat University lead to research webinar series. And this very special month, we do have our lovely and honored speaker, okay, Assistant Professor Dr. Budi Waluyo from Walailak University. He has published quite extensive research, right, on outcome-based and language learning and teaching, especially for the foundation and English for specific purposes as well. So he's very specialized in such an area. So we are very happy and honored to have our speaker today. And as you know, outcome-based language learning is a kind of requirement for the current trend of the language learners, right, to achieve. Besides skill-based, besides project-based, or any other kinds of base, one thing we would love to see is kind of the outcomes. So I think by means of outcome, we still kind of like struggle, right? We are struggling to find the right definition or factor or how actually we can actually design outcome-based learning and at the same time research on such a purpose, right? So with this session, I think we can start looking back on our teaching and see how the outcome should be set out for our course and how to research to achieve our goal, right? So with no further ado, right? Is now I will turn the microphone right to our speaker of today, right? Dr. Budi Waluyo. Please welcome our speaker today. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Budi, please turn on the microphone. Thank you. Okay. Can you speak up? Okay, all right.
Yeah, I can right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Right, everyone. Good morning. My name is Budi Waluyo. I'm from Indonesia. Right now, I'm working at Walailak University in the south of Thailand, Nakhon Si Thammarat. Good to see you all here. I hope one day we can meet in person, but at the moment, I think this is the best way we can do because of the emergency situation. So I have 1 hour, right, to talk, Dr. Monton. Okay, so I'll try to be brief, and also hopefully this presentation can be a little bit meaningful for your context. And what else? Oh yeah, I don't think I'm an expert in this field. So at the end of my presentation, if you feel like you have comment or suggestion or anything you would like to say about this, please feel free to do so, because I'm also learning at this moment, and I think it's also a good opportunity for us to share our knowledge and experience. I'm at home, and as you can see, I'm using gaming headphone here just to make sure that my voice is clear enough. All right, let me just start it. Right. So basically, I was asked to talk about outcome-based learning. And this is indeed one of the approaches popular even in language teaching, especially English language teaching. But before we move further, I would like to play a little bit game for us, okay? I believe you all like playing game, right? So let's play a game a little bit. You know how to raise your hand, right? On Zoom, right? So if you're interested to participate, please raise your hand, okay? So let's play a game. I have this game. Let me share it with you. Um, Simple game. I got this game from a friend from Indonesia named Irfan Amali. So can you see the game? Yes? Okay. So I have this game. Uh, the goal is simple. You have to move everyone here from this land to another land to cross the river. So we have a wolf, we have a person, a cowboy, we have a goat and carrot, and then we have a boat. So the instruction is you have to get all of them cross the river. That's the instruction. But remember that you cannot let the the wolf to be left together with the goat, or the goat together with the carrot, because they will eat them. So this is the simple game, a simple game. Anyone interested to participate? Can you raise your hand? Can you move all these wolf, person, goat, and carrot to another land? Who wants to play? Anyone? Raise your hand. No one is interested? Can you raise your hand? You know how to raise your hand, right? You go to, I think, is there anyone interested to play this game? Nobody? I need one person to play this game. Anyone? We have 103 participants. Can you just, oh, we have a lot. Okay. Dr. Monton, can you help me? Okay. Maybe Istrapon?
Right?
Okay.
Point. Could you please answer?
Okay, Ajan, please, Ajan, tell me. I will move it. So tell me, what is the first one? What is the first one, Ajan, to get on the boat?
Right.
Cowboy?
Who? Um, there's some people asking how to play. Yeah, okay,
Oh, you just need
James.
to move
Okay.
the boat to help these four to cross the river here. So I can move the so for example, I'm moving this cowboy to here, but I
Mhm.
cannot only, if I do this, the goat will eat the carrot
Right.
like that.
Mm.
Okay. Anyone? Um.
Okay, it seems James Harvey would love to do the
Okay.
game, right?
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
could you
Please,
please
please,
turn on
Dr.
the
Monton,
microphone?
you can help me.
Okay.
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 Who wants to
Uh,
try?
Jane, right? Jane,
James. Okay. Please, James.
please do. Please join us.
Okay. We have cowboy here. What do you want to put here? You want to put wolf? You want to put the goat here or the carrot? Can you speak?
Okay. There's so many. Edward, would you love to? Edward.
Anyone? Just speak up, I think.
Okay, John Edward, please start a bit. Oh,
Can
there's
you
so many
speak?
people would love to.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we have cowboy here. What's next?
Okay.
What's next?
Okay.
Maybe you
Here we
need to
go. We have
unmute
James said the goat, right?
the goat. Okay. I'll move the goat. Okay. And then we cross the river. And then we move the goat here. Okay. What's next? Wolf or carrot?
The carrots.
The
Okay.
carrot. Okay. We move the carrot here. Okay. It's a disaster because the goat will eat the carrot. Okay. All right. Who wants to try next? You have to
Okay.
move these four, cross the river here. But you cannot leave the goat alone with the wolf or the carrot
Okay.
alone with
The name.
the goat. Okay.
Okay.
Who's next?
Okay. So many people would love to answer, right?
Okay.
Marvin?
Um,
Marvin, you know the answer. Okay. And Flo said the world first.
okay. The wolf first. Sorry. The wolf first. Okay. We
Okay.
move it. Ah, it's a
Good.
disaster because the goat eats the carrot. Okay.
Mm.
Next. Come
Okay.
on. This
Please,
is
Marvin,
level one.
would
This is
you love
level
to
one.
say something? Please do. Marvin, would love to say something? Please
They
unmute.
cannot, I think they cannot unmute themselves.
They can actually.
They can?
Right, they
Okay.
can. Mhm.
Next, if you can solve
Okay.
this problem, you will get candy.
Okay, Marvin. Okay, I'll get Marvin now.
Marvin, okay. Marvin, we put the cowboy. And then, who's next? Who's next?
Oh, there's so many people.
Okay. Hairun Nisa, can you speak?
Hmm.
Huh?
Okay,
They
Marvin
cannot
now.
speak. Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
Marvin now.
John.
Okay, Marvin
Oh,
Okay.
now.
John.
Ah,
Yeah. Okay, I
yes,
think
Marvin.
I know the answer already. Okay,
Ah,
good
try,
morning,
Marvin,
everyone.
try.
Yeah, I wanna try. Okay,
Okay,
you
try.
put
Okay.
the goat first. Yeah, goat.
Okay. And then move.
After the goat, okay,
And then,
move and then put the goat on the other island.
okay.
Okay, and then you go
Then
back.
go back. And then,
Then you get the fox. Yeah.
okay.
Okay, you
Okay.
put the fox on the other land, and then
Okay.
you get the goat back to the
Oh,
boat.
okay. Sorry.
No,
Sorry. Let me do it
no,
again.
no. Okay,
So
Uh,
first one
okay.
is the wolf, right?
No, no, the goat.
The goat. Okay, let me do it
Yeah,
quickly.
put the goat on the other land. Oh,
Okay,
okay.
sorry.
And then go
And
back,
then,
then get the fox, and then
okay.
you put the fox on the land. Then
Okay.
you put the goat back on the boat on the other
Okay.
island.
All right.
Okay.
And then
Okay,
like
next,
this.
yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
put the carrot.
Carrot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Move it.
Then you go
Okay.
back. You put the
Okay.
carrot, then the goat.
This one.
Yeah,
Okay. Oh,
and that's
sorry.
it.
Okay. Good.
And
So
that's it.
this is
Yeah.
level one game.
Uh,
And yeah, sorry. It's disaster. I should have moved this here. So basically, this is
yeah.
a game, simple game. And it require critical thinking a little bit about this. You can play this game in class as well because it looks simple, but actually it's not that simple. And we have level 2 as well if you want to try it, but I think you can try it at home later. So basically, this game, first I told you what is the goal is, and you simply follow the rules and try to achieve the goal, right? Although sometimes you failed, and then you probably will figure it out after several attempts. So this game, just a simple game that I would like to draw your attention a little bit before we talk about outcome-based learning. Now let's go back to my slide here. So outcome-based learning, basically, it is not a new approach. in language teaching especially. So it started with outcome-based education first. People said OBE. It started in the 1950s. Not exactly outcome-based education at the time, but we had Tyler's 1950 at the time introduced basic principles of curriculum and instruction, emphasizing that when we design a course, it is important to start with a precise objectives first. And then, as you know, this is a popular one, Bloom's taxonomy and Cradwell's frameworks appear at the time to lead to direct how to formulate a learning objectives. So in the 1960s, several foundational concepts appear at the time. Competency-based education, criterion reference learning, and mastery learning. And then in the 1990s, in the US, it was dubbed outcome-based education. And literature agrees that it derives from the United States, this outcome-based education. Basically, outcome-based education is a learner-centered approach, but it is result-oriented in education. In this system, outcome-based education, before I move to outcome-based learning, because this is the big umbrella of it, we have four concepts inside it. The first one is what is to be learned is clearly identified from the beginning. And then the second one, learner's progress is based on demonstrated achievement. So it has to be demonstrated by the students inside and outside the classroom or outside the classroom. The third one is multiple instructional assessment strategies are available to meet the needs of each learner. So this OBE recognizes the differences among learners. And the last one is time and assistance are provided for each learner to meet maximum potential. So basically here, there is one thing to note is that when the learners or the students fail to demonstrate a particular learning outcome set by the course, they wouldn't be able to move to another stage. They will stay in that stage until they can demonstrate the learning outcome. So basically that is one of the things as well in outcome-based education. If we come, when we are talking about outcome-based education, the smaller part of it is that outcome-based learning talks about teaching should be driven by outcomes that are desirable for students, and that greater clarity in relation to what is to be achieved simply involves adjusting teaching and assessment. Here, maybe you would think that yeah, that is what we've been practicing. We always think about outcomes, and we always think about outcomes that are desirable for our students. But the main point about outcome-based learning or outcome-based education is this one basically. When we want to assess learning quality, you know, we have goals, we have outcomes, we have inputs, we have processes. When we're talking about outcome-based learning, we're talking about how to begin with when we're designing a course or when we're designing an English subject. How to begin with? Do we begin with the inputs? Do we take into account the processes, the goals, or outcomes? So if you are talking about outcome-based learning, we should begin with the goals first. What would be the goals? Translated into outcomes. What are the outcomes that we expect for the students to have or to demonstrate at the end of the course? After that, inputs and processes would follow. So we cannot say that this whole process actually the same, yes, but how to begin is what makes the difference. And also one of the things that makes this outcome-based learning popular is that it allows people to see the quality uh, evaluation mechanism. When we say at the end of the course, students would be able to do this and that, people would easily understand that outcome. So that is also one of the popular features of outcome-based learning. And then Stone 2005 raised a good questions when he explained why this outcome-based learning looks interesting. Basically, we as educators, we often ask ourselves about what our students are learning, how well they are learning it, and how we know that they are learning it. And in outcome-based learning, the evaluation process is simple. When we see the students can demonstrate the outcomes, it means that they have learned those concepts. They have learned it well, and when they are able to perform it well, it means that the course or the class is successful. And also we can say that when the students fail to demonstrate the learning outcome, so the learning process didn't work. Simple. And also the students did not learn it well. So that's why people are interested in outcome-based learning, because of that easy those easy ways to understand and evaluate the learning process. It started in the United States because at the time, the the educators in the US, the policymakers, not the educators, sorry, the policymakers want to see how successful our schools were, and how successful our teachers in teaching our students. So to provide the concrete outcomes, this outcome-based learning emerged. And also, as I said earlier, basically you will, when you're designing an English subject or English course, you will involve contents, inputs, you will consider about the assessment, but how we begin is what makes it different. Here in outcome-based learning, it is the learning outcome that will inform curriculum, teaching, and assessment, not the other way around. As towards 1996 also believe that what matters when we are adopting outcome-based learning is that it's not what we teach, it is what is learned. It is totally different what is taught and what is learned, because when we're talking about what is taught, sometimes or generally we're talking about the teachers. But when we talk about what is learned, we will talk about the students becoming the center of the conversation, and how to measure their success. Then we look at the learning outcomes. In this case, also, as you know, you might have heard about constructive alignment. Sorry, constructive alignment. In constructive alignment, it is important to align between teaching materials and assessment, right? So here, we'll talk about that later in a minute. Constructive alignment also emerge to complete outcome-based learning approach. Outcome-based learning levels. So if we decide to apply outcome-based learning in our context, usually it will involve three levels: institute level, program level, and course level. Here, institute level, it involves the university level. What kinds of the graduates that the university expects to have. Program level is more about the study program. Could be faculty level, could be school level. And here in my presentation, we're talking about course level. it's more, I think, more specific and applicable for our context here. When we're talking about course level, in terms of course design, there are three factors involved. The first one is course intended learning outcomes. If you have written essays for UKPSF, here it is very popular and each lectures has to earn the certificate. We have to write course intended learning outcomes. Course intended learning outcomes, or CILO, this is the important feature of outcome-based learning. And then from CILO, we follow with teaching and learning activities and then assessment strategies. Let's see these one by one. For course intended learning outcome, or CILOs, at least four characteristics that we need to consider. The first one, when we're designing the learning outcomes of our course design, make sure it is attractive. What does it mean? It means students want to achieve them. It is not the teacher who wants to achieve them. It is important because sometimes we have to follow the policy from the university or the school or teachers have their own goals. But here we should, when we are designing the CILO for our course, we should make sure that the learning outcomes, students want to achieve them first. The second one is comprehensible. It means that students know the meaning. Often we create syllabus and then we share it with our students, but most of the time the students do not read the syllabus. Why? Because the language is sometimes cannot be understood by them. It's too abstract, too vague. So make sure our students know the meaning when we say that this is the learning outcomes of our course. The next characteristic is that it is attainable. It means that students can learn to achieve them. So if you're teaching A1 level students and you put the learning outcomes at B1 level, then you will have a question about, can your students really achieve them moving from A1 to B1 in one academic term? So that kind of question will be given to you. The next one is coherence. It means that the learning outcomes fit into their program. I'm teaching general English courses here. The students come from different academic majors. So if they're taking the course with me, I have to make sure that the learning outcomes will be applicable and fit to what they're doing in their programs. If not, it is going to be meaningful. The next one is, this is a comparison between course objectives, traditional ones, and the one that was created in OBL, outcome-based learning. If you see here, and also you can refer back to what you have written in your course syllabus. If you're a teacher, you can refer back to what you have written in your lesson plan as well. So if you see here, the traditional course outline from course objectives, if you look at this description, it is very difficult to understand. But if you look at the OBL course outline, you will see that they use Bloom's taxonomy verbs, and also they specified what learning outcomes that the students are expected to demonstrate at the end of the course. So these are two simple examples, the differences between traditional course outline and OBL course outline. In terms of language objectives or learning objectives, we often put it learning objectives in our syllabus, right? Here, if you see the traditional concept, you just put develop competence in academic reading skills. Trust me, if you read syllabus from other courses, you will come across this kind of statement. Develop competence in academic reading skills or writing skills. but this is actually too general. It has to be specific. That's why here, if you read the CILO here, they put it very specifically. Demonstrate high level of English academic literacy in speaking, writing, and online context. Work collaboratively in an effective way to develop English academic literacy and subject knowledge. So basically, be specific on your learning outcomes and keep in mind the 4 characteristics of OBL. And from those learning outcomes, we need to translate them into teaching and learning activities. I'm not going to be specific on this one, but when you're designing your teaching and learning activities, for example, at the end of this course, the students will be able to write 150 words short essay, for example, in English about their daily life, for example. Your teaching and learning activities could be different from one to another. My teaching and learning activities to achieve those learning outcomes would be different from your learning activities. But keep in mind these 3 questions. The first one is, does the task build on previous relevant knowledge? So I played a game, right, before. Although we did not really have a lot of participation, but you did have your previous relevant knowledge. What are they? They are, goat will eat carrot. Fox will eat the goat, right? So those kind of thing is the previous relevant knowledge. This is basic and you need to take this into account. The second one is, does it require the learner to be relevantly active? So if you decide to teach, for example, I'll talk about it in a minute. For example, you decide to give a role play to your students, and it means that the students have to be active in class and play the role play. So you need to set up to what extent the students need to be active in this activity. The third one is, does it allow for the learner to be reflective as learning progresses? This is sometimes forgotten because being reflective is actually not really sounds like a real thing, but having students to reflect upon what they have learned is actually what will help them have some progress in their learning. And if the task falls short on any of these criteria, it should be redesigned for the activities. And the last one is assessment strategies. This is simple actually. If you have learning outcomes, then how will you evaluate the learning outcomes? This is actually simple, but when we do it in practice, actually it is not as simple as it sounds. For example, when you want to achieve the outcome that the students will be able to write a short report, 250 words in English, uh, how would you assess the task that how would you design the task that will capture students' knowledge and skills in performing the task? Maybe it's simple, like, oh, then the task would be writing a report, a short report. But then you will have to think about how will you evaluate the students' knowledge and skill? How will you distinguish between students who are able to write well and not well? And how would you distinguish students' levels of um, proficiency or ability in performing the task? You can use rubrics, but also make sure that your rubrics are understandable for your students and really identify the learning outcomes designed in the beginning of the process. So these are about outcome-based learning. Here, you're looking at the samples of traditional course outlines and OBL course outlines. If you look at these two assessment tasks, also if you look at a course syllabus from other courses, you will see so many this kind of description. An individual written essay, 1,000 words on a module related topic, 60% of the total grade. I think this occurs very often among us to write this kind of details in our syllabus. But actually, if we are designing an OBL course, we have to be specified about which learning outcomes will be addressed by using this task. If you create more than 2 tasks, each task, which learning outcomes will be accommodated. So this is just make it more detailed, but again, at the end of your course, it is going to be helpful in your evaluation when you want to say, this is the outcomes of the courses. Students are able to do this and that. I've just explained to you the history, concept, and application of outcome-based learning. And I hope that is helpful. And here, from now on, I would like to give an example from one course that I designed before. And also this was published in the Journal of Asia TOEFL. Uh, I think in 2019 or 2020. So when we're talking about outcome-based learning, especially outcome-based English learning, and in this COVID-19 situation, we have to talk about technology. And what I'm going to talk about here is an example of an outcome-based English course that implemented multiple e-learning technologies and active learning concepts. At our university, we often say smart classroom and active learning. And I believe you have heard these concepts before, smart classroom and active learning. In this research, I also actually intended to initiate discussions about how do we discuss about smart classroom and active learning in ELT context. So from now on, let me give you one example of a course using outcome-based English language learning. So this is the course and learning objectives. The name of the course is English in Cultural Diversity. The course objectives is to improve students' knowledge and skills in English pronunciation, specifically on the vocabulary related to airport, restaurant, festivals, and arts, and so forth. So basically, this course promotes understandings about English in culture diversity. The textbook covers topics such as airport, restaurant, festival, and arts, that topics that often involve people from different cultures, and how to talk about these different cultures in English, and also talk about diversity in English as well. And this is the learning objectives. So they were designed specifically like what I just presented earlier. So the course design involved 4 factors. I would say 4 concepts. The first one is smart classroom. Second one is active learning. The next one is integrated approach. And the fourth one is formative assessment. I don't know in another country, but in Thailand, I think these 4 concepts are very well known in Thailand, I think, especially formative assessment. So, but when people are asked, can you explain a little bit about it and how you apply that assessment or that concept? Sometimes people can't really do it. So let's see it one by one. So smart classroom concepts. Basically, this concept uh, emerged from distance education research. So it was not initially discussed in ELT. Therefore, in my study, I would like to initiate discussion in ELT about the use, how we use the term smart classroom concepts. Basically, when we say smart classroom, it's more about the concept of ICT integration. ICT integration, it means that you facilitate the language teaching and learning, either synchronous or asynchronous. You extend the teacher-students interaction in and outside the classroom. You try to develop autonomous learning, and you try to improve learning outcomes and achievements. The whole area involves the integration of ICT. So that is how we should perceive smart classroom in ELT. And then what about active learning? This active learning is also basically uh, not from ELT as well, but in educational fields, we should talk about this because this is one of the popular concepts in education, active learning. One time when I was attending a conference, somebody raised a question, what active learning means? And then the one being asked said, active learning means you learn actively. Of course, active learning is that you learn actively. It means that you don't need any further explanation about it. But when we are talking about active learning in ELT, it is a concept that involves students in a number of activities. So not only about watching a lecture or taking notes. This is simple, but more than that, student activity and engagement in the classroom are emphasized on learning outcomes and require thoughtful participation from students. So student activity and engagement are led by the learning outcomes, and make sure that the participation is not like you ask them, the students, and they just say yes or no, or just say one or two words. That is not thoughtful participation. Thoughtful participation requires students to think. Like the game that I played earlier, if you really followed the game, you would see that you need to play a little bit with your thought to solve the problem and then to achieve the learning outcomes, which is to help those creatures to cross the river. And the last one, not the last one, the third one is integrated skills approach. In ELT, we have two approaches, integrated and segregated skills. In our course, we need to make sure that which one we want to adopt, integrated or segregated. Segregated means that you will only teach one skill or two skills, listening only or reading only, or if you are teaching grammar, just grammar. You're not accommodating reading, listening, speaking, or other skills. Here in the course that I design here, I involve integrated skills approach. It means that when the students learn one chapter, they learn about the grammar, but also they will revisit the grammar points in the reading. It is reflected in the listening materials. It is going to be practiced in the speaking, in the conversation, or it is going to be written by the students. So basically, once the students learn one materials in one meeting, these four skills will be involved. And from the body of the literature, if you ask me what I found, integrated skills approach is more effective than segregated skills approach. That's what I found in the literature. But in some extents or in some situations, the segregated skills approach probably more effective. Here, the last one is formative assessment. In this course, I will show you how the smart classroom, how the active learning, how the integrated skills and formative assessment were designed in this course. But before we go into the details, this is the last component of the course, which is formative assessment. I think when I say formative assessment, most of us will immediately understand that this is formative assessment. It means that you do it formatively. You do it more than one time. You do it because you want to give feedback to students. You do it, you give it because you want students to improve their learning through stages. William, 2006, argues that yes, formative assessment is always coupled with feedback. But the crucial feature is that evidence is evoked, interpreted in terms of learning needs. So there is evidence that will tell us what is it the students need to improve their learning. And then we use it to adjust our teaching and learning activities to meet those learning needs. This is the formative assessment, and we can divide them into three types: long cycle, medium cycle, short cycle. Now, let me show you when I say this course, integrated smart classroom. This is the list of the ICT integration used in the course. We address integrated skills approach. So we did not only teach one skills, but we teach more than one skills in one meeting. And each skill were accommodated by using different ICT tools. So for vocabulary, we use Socrative. For pronunciation, we use video and Facebook group. For listening, we use MP3 video and Google Form. We use Google Form for reading grammar. Writing, if you know right about, this is a powerful application for writing, especially if you're teaching writing. Try to give it a go for write about. It's very good. And then we use Google Spreadsheet for assessment, and for practices we use Kahoot and quizzes. And we design the purpose as well for each ICT tools. And for the assessment, we divide them into percentage. For this one, we have formative and summative assessment. The component is 60% formative assessment and 40% summative assessment. It might not look so much for formative, but one of the things about formative assessment, it doesn't have to be translated into scores. Formative assessment can also be used to improve students' learning without using any scores. So that is also one of the concepts that we embrace at the time. For this study, actually is a big course. It involved 983 students. So there were 983 students, first year students, took this course and spread out in 37 classes taught by English foreign English lecturers, sorry, and Thai English lecturers as well. So it's a big course at the time, 37 classes, but most of the students were at 2A2 level, which is not really high. In Thailand, basically, in the Ministry of Education policy in Thailand, people who are at university level, they are supposed to be at B1 level. A2 level, basically a high school graduate, if you want to look at the policy. But here, the students taking this course were at A2 level. It means that they were one level behind than the proficiency level they're supposed to have. A big course, and then the objective is simple. For this study, I wanted to explore students' learning outcomes after they took this course designed by using outcome-based learning. Basically, I wanted to explore whether the students improved before and after taking the course. And it involved different skills as well. As I said earlier, the course involved integrated skills approach. So the data analysis involved pair sample t-tests to see if the course design has impacts on student achievement, and independent t-tests and one-way ANOVA to see if there are statistical differences by gender and proficiency. Also, I conducted analysis of students' improvement by changes of level. The results confirm there was a significant difference between students pre-test and post-test, and it is significant. And then there were also a significant difference between male and female students. So this is also something to keep in mind, that female students tend to perform better than male students in outcome-based learning. But again, to make it sure, maybe because also the number of male students were fewer than the female numbers, the number of female students in this course. But in this analysis, it showed that female students perform slightly better than male students. One-way ANOVA, the one-way ANOVA also disclosed significant differences, but only in vocabulary learning outcomes. And overall post-test total scores. So there were no significant differences in the learning outcomes in reading, listening, writing, and speaking. But obviously, advanced students perform better than remedial or lower level students. But between advanced and intermediate students, no significant differences. And this is also important to keep in mind that usually between advanced and intermediate students, there are no significant differences in terms of learning outcomes. And you need to keep in mind when you are dealing with this kind of students. So in a nutshell, the design of the course is like this. If you have a course that you're designing, you put your course here, and then you put smart classroom and active learning. From smart classroom, you interpret it as an ICT integration. From ICT integration, you translate the tools that you will use and how will the tools accommodate each skill. Active learning translate integrated skills approach and formative assessment. This is also important if you're a course coordinator or your subject, English subject, is being taught by many people. I don't know in your context, but using Google Spreadsheet is very, very helpful. So you can save it in the Google Drive where everyone can access the Google Spreadsheet. Every teacher can open it on their own device anytime, anywhere. So they can just upload the scores in their convenient times. It is very helpful. So try to use Google Spreadsheet. Of course, you can just create using Excel file and then upload it to Google Drive. Then you can open it using Google Spreadsheet, and it is easy to be used and it can save time as well. So all these data that we collect from the course save in the Google Drive. I would say if you are working at university level, usually the university provides you with Google Drive. And if you are being a course coordinator, it is important to, I think it is useful to use Google Drive as the central drive for your coordination. So at last, I think I would say after talking about history, concept, and application of outcome-based learning, and also after conducting a study about it, I would say outcome-based learning promotes explicit ideas to be achieved. So your course outcomes wouldn't sound like, oh, this is like, I cannot understand it. What exactly the outcomes that they're trying to achieve. But if you design it by using outcome-based learning, it will create explicit ideas. This learning, this approach facilitates the process of evaluating student learning. It can direct the selection of course materials and, more importantly, ensure the operation of accountability of quality of the learning process. We often we are often asked as an educator, how do you show the quality of your course? How will you make sure that the accountability of your course is at a good level? So this outcome-based learning will help us in that kind of answering that question. And I would say, especially in the current situation, COVID-19, I would say it is important for English subjects or English courses to embrace the concept of smart classroom and active learning. So this is also a challenge for us. Like at the moment, we know that internet connection is very important to consider, and then ICT tools as well, etc. But this kind of concepts actually maybe becomes important at the moment because of the current situation. Maybe if we did not have COVID-19, nobody will be talking about course design that embrace concept of smart classroom and active learning in ELT. So I would say this is probably one of the things that we can try in our course, um, as a, I don't know, maybe it can also stimulate future research in ELT, how we discuss smart classroom and active learning concepts. So that's all from me. Thank you very much. I hope it is insightful, and I hope uh, you don't get bored. And that's all. Thank you, Dr. Monton. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, Dr. Budi, for a very insightful and very inspiring, right, talk on how to design, right, outcome based with ICT integrated course in English. Then, all right. Right now, I think we have some kind of Q&A section, right? Do you have any questions or comments or anything to address to our speaker at all? Yes, Mukhad. Please turn on the microphone if you want to, please.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My
Good
name is
morning.
Muhammad Solihin. So, Mr. Budi, I've been following since you were at the Manchester University, and now you're graduated from, US.
Okay.
I'm so happy to have you here. Okay, sir, according to what you have given us about outcome-based learning, I have two questions about that.
Mhm.
First, is that really important to have pre-test assessment to measure their English level before our class begin? If it is so, what commonly tools should we give if we would achieve all the integrated skill approach? That the
Right.
first. And the second one is, can you give us what kind of application should the teacher have to achieve that all goal that you have just given us? I think that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Right, please.
Dr. Monton, should I just
Right, please do.
answer the questions? Okay.
Thank you, answer.
Right. Thank you, Solihin. Are you in the UK right now?
No, but I've been traveled in the UK,
Okay.
specifically in Manchester back then. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay. To answer your first question, is pretest is important. Usually, if you have done pretest a lot at your institution, you will feel like this is boring. Pretest is boring, and sometimes you feel like it's kind of a joke. But if we are trying to convince, or if you want to show students improvement, because at the end of the day you need to tell people the course is successful or the course is a failure. To say that, you need data. So the data, one of them is pretest scores, and you analyze the data by using paired sample t-test. It's very common. Usually paired sample t-test can be used if you do workshop. For example, this workshop, you measure the students, the participants' knowledge before and after the workshop. If you see differences, there you go. You can see the success or the failure of the program. So using paired sample t-test, it is a good statistical technique for pretest. So personally, at Walailak University, we've done a lot of pretests. Just for this year, we didn't do pretests because of the COVID-19 situations. We cannot have face-to-face classes, and also students cannot get into the rooms together only this year. But again, because we didn't do that pretest, we couldn't really uh, ensure how much progress the students made. We just say the post test, this is the results of the post test. The highest scores is 90, the lowest scores is 40. That's it. But we can't really see beyond that. We can dig into it into details by using qualitative interview or asking the students. But again, in our context, time is very precious, and we can't really talk to our students about what we're doing in terms of scores and stuff. So I would say pretest is very important, regardless of the disadvantages that it may offer in reality. The second one is about the tools. I think at the moment, it depends on the skills that you want to address or to focus on. I would say personally, I have this, so we have this concept called, so my master's was also in educational technology and TESOL. There was this concept called personal learning networks. So I would say keep your learning networks. Usually we use Twitter. Or if you like using other social media, that is also fine. But make sure you have networks where you can just easily find the needs for your future. So for example, these tools, let me show you one. I cannot say the specific tools because your needs might be different, but I can give you example later because I have written some articles as well about gamification. But let me show you this website, which is very good. So in my personal learning networks that I said earlier, I use Twitter, and on Twitter, there is this guy named Nick Picky. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but you can search for his name. He's very popular and one of those guys in educational technology. If you go to his website, you can find a lot of tools here. You can just choose which one you want. So this is one of the the connection that you can get connected with. Try, because like this on Twitter, I don't need this, for example, 40 plus tools and resources for developing speaking skills. But I just click like. In case I need it in the future, I just go to my like on Twitter, then open it. So like this one, free quizzes, notes, and games to improve your grammar. I don't need it now, but I just click like because later I might need it. So you don't know when you need it. So that's why I said use your social media to develop your connection. That's why the concept personal learning network, PLN, emerged at the time in 2012 when I learned about it. So this is one of the connection you can get connected with. I believe other people have more as well. But for me, usually tools that I have used so far, right about, it's powerful. For gamification, we use Kahoot, Quizzes, Quizlet, and Socrative. But for sure, I think among these, Quizlet is the most, maybe the rarest tools used by teacher. So if you haven't used Quizlet, I would say use it. It's very interesting if you can play it together with your students in a real time. The excitement of the students is a little bit different when you play Kahoot or quizzes. Maybe that's my answer.
Thank you
Well,
so
thank you, sir.
Okay, right. That's quite inspiring, right? Because a lot of people have now used Kahoot or Quizlet that they wanted to ask for some other programs to activate the kind of like active learning as well. So that's just quite interesting, isn't it? Right. Any other questions so far? Do you have any questions? Okay. There's a question from the audience. How is it like, your analysis of the smart classroom concept, whether it is a practice in the classroom and face-to-face? I mean, what are the differences in terms of analysis between like a classroom and face, class, face-to-face classroom and smart learning technology?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So in Thailand, not only in Thailand, so I share this workshop with my connection in Indonesia as well. So I guess this is from my connection in Indonesia. So in Thailand and Indonesia, the requirement to publish is really intense right now, right? So everyone must publish right now, publish or perish. So to answer this question, actually, let me talk about publication first. So this research, one of the reasons why I accepted this invitation is that I would like to share that basically when you are being a course coordinator, that course can be your research. And basically this research that I just showed you earlier is very simple, but because you I did it by using um, uh, like in an experimental design. So I presented how it was designed, how it was conducted, and how it was ended. Then they accepted it. So this is also one of the research areas that I think people can explore. And this kind of article, from my limited experience in publication, journals are more interested in this kind of manuscript than a manuscript that just use survey or not in an experimental research design. So to answer the question, basically the analysis were very simple. Just use pre and post for each skill that you design the learning outcomes. That will show you the significant or non-significant progress. And then the second one, observe the differences by gender and by proficiency. That's it, simple. But again, this if you do this kind of research, it actually gives you, how to say it, people who read your article will be able to learn about how to design and how to conduct courses, and in order to achieve significant outcomes that we did in our research. If we did that, that's it, maybe.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. I think there's one more question by Dr. Albert, right? Dr. Albert, do you want to ask any question? Or
Yes, like good morning.
right, good morning.
Morning to our resource speaker, Dr. Budi.
Good morning, Ajahn Albert.
Yeah, I just want to ask because during this COVID pandemic, we should
Mhm.
from face-to-face classroom to virtual classroom. So we're talking about the pre-test. So what do you think? How can we assure the credibility and the reliability of the pre-test results, despite that we're using the virtual classroom?
Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Albert. Actually, I think you are more experienced than I am. But I'll try. So Dr. Albert used to be my colleague here, and then he moved to Bangkok, uh, King Mangkut's University. So Dr. Alberts, my personal opinion would be like this. I've read some articles about this. This is also an opportunity for us to conduct research. It's about dishonesty in online learning, teaching and learning. This is very good opportunity, trust me, because people now are trying to find a way to judge the reliability of online learning assessment. How should we judge the reliability and validity of online learning assessments? Because right now we have no choice. We have to do that. But how do we ensure the reliability and validity? That is one area of research that we can do actually. And also, I would say for Thai learners, Thai EFL learners, from my 3 years teaching in Thailand, I would say cheating is inevitable. I couldn't say that students wouldn't cheat. This is my honest opinion. I couldn't say students wouldn't cheat. Even if you ask them to turn on the video, one or two of them will still manage to do that. And also in Zoom, you can't observe all of them. So basically, that's a fact. But if we can do a research or find something or procedures to minimize the cheating opportunities or possibilities, I think that will be more interesting. I would say the way to get around it is that to divide it, to divide it. I don't know for pre-test, but for post-test, we should so we should divide it into, so if we have summative assessment, it should not only contain multiple choice exams. It should, if we have summative assessment 20%, we should divide it into 10% for something that requires students to elaborate their answers and 10% for multiple choice exam, something like that. Pretest can also be done like that. Basically, avoid giving all the percentage to multiple choice exams. But if the students need to elaborate their answers, like essay, short essays, usually it's a little bit difficult to cheat on that. But again, it will give more work to teachers when they grade the test. Another thing is that avoid, for certain skills, it is obvious students would cheat. From my experience here, writing, if you ask them to write, you give the prompts, for example, they have to write 100 to 150 words. They will write it in Google Translate and then in Thai, and then they will just translate it into English. And because the structures wouldn't be perfect, the teachers, if they don't have that kind of knowledge before, they would think that the students really wrote about it, but actually not. So for some skills, it is just impossible, nearly impossible to have students not to cheat, especially writing. So I would say be careful with the formats of the test and divide the percentage if possible. And this is also an opportunity for us to do research. Another thing is, when I say smart classroom and active learning, this is also an opportunity for us to do research. How, for example, gamification in online learning impacts students' learning outcomes, and also how active learning works in an online learning environment. So basically, these also are opportunities to do research because we need to publish.
Interesting,
That's it,
right?
maybe.
Okay, thank you. I think Dr. Albert also has a last question for us, right?
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Right, one question to Dr. Budi. I just want to know your friendly suggestion or recommendation because, example, if you have this pre-test result and then as if they neglect the result of your pre-test and you know that this group of students really need this so that before they can go to the next level. So what is your suggestion so that, for example, as a lecturer, the top level management should listen to my suggestion just in case that it will not be turned into defending ears.
Can you
Yeah, friendly
repeat the
suggestion based
question?
on your suggestion
Mm,
based on your experience.
okay. What was the question? I don't.
Yeah, you have the result of the pre-test, but
Okay.
you want to present to the admin, they neglect
Mm,
the result because you found out that this result is very important. Example, before learning Foundation English 2, they should pass Foundation English 1. But they failed Foundation English 1, now they can still proceed to Foundation English 2. So what is
yeah.
your suggestion based on your experience?
Yeah, I had that experience before. So I guess some of the people here had that experience. So basically I would say if the higher ups did not or do not accept the pretest scores, I would say for me, if they did that, I'm okay. I'll just use it for my research. The second one, I would say I agree with you, but if it happens at your university too, it happened to my university here that students do not have to pass level 1 to move to level 2 course. So if it happens in your at your university, I don't know, at Tamasan, so I think it might happen everywhere. But if we look at this outcome-based learning design, we should not allow students to go to a higher level until they are able to demonstrate the learning outcomes, design it or design for that course. So that is actually the concept if you want to follow the concept, but sometimes we can't really debate the higher ups. So basically if I were you, I would just say this is a pretest, they don't want or they neglect it, okay, I'll just do it, I'll just use it for my own. And if they keep doing, like students can take level 1 and 2 without taking into consideration whether they fail the previous class or the lower level course or not, I would say nothing we can do. But actually, as a teacher, we just need to know that whether we are facing students who fail lower level courses or not. Because if we have students who fail lower level courses while we are teaching higher level courses, maybe we will need to think about how we will deliver the materials. I think you have more experience than me, Dr. Albert. I don't
All
know
right.
if anyone wants to share their experience because I'm not really an experienced teacher, actually,
Okay.
honestly.
Right. That is a very, very good question and answers, right? So there is no 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 secret solution for all such a thing like this, but that's why we do have um, research and discussion and webinar and conferences to attend to find possible solutions all the time through this social scholar network, right? So I think that that is just the end, right, of our discussion today and our presentation by our lovely speaker, right, Assistant Professor Dr. Budi Waluyo from Walailak University, right? So our next coming up webinar is going to be a little bit more challenging, right, on proposal writing by Associate Professor Dr. Natama Pongpaira from Chulalongkorn University. She is part of the research organization in Thailand. So she will address something about how to write a successful research proposal for scholarship. in the future, right? So that's going to be on our June, right? On June, on the 12th of June, Saturday, at 10 o'clock. Okay, please welcome. We are welcome to come anytime. Right. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so as our tradition again, we will have a photo shoot for our speakers and our participation as well, right? So if you please show yourself, show yourself, please, so that we can take a photo together, right? Thank you. Thank you. If you have any questions further, you may ask Dr. Budi through his email, okay? And his email is on the evaluation form, so please do. Okay, thank you. Right now, okay. Okay, so I'm waiting for everyone to come. We have 3 pages, so we need to take 3 shorts. So sorry about that. Okay, so okay, now here we go. 3, 2, 1, action. Okay, one more time. 3, 2, 1. Okay, one more. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Okay, let's get one last shot then. 3, 2, 1, action. Okay. All right. Thank you so much then,
Right.
everyone. And thank you, our speaker.
Thank you, Dr.
of the day,
Monton.
right? Thank you so,
Thank
so
you.
much. Okay, so
All
we have,
right.
that's
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. See
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.
God
Take
bless
care.
everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much, and see you again next week then
See you.
for the next webinar. And thank you, Dr. Budi, for this.
So I'm leaving.
Okay, have a
Bye bye. Thank
good evening.
you.
Bye-bye.
No to future
Bye-bye.
decorating.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Si Ma'am Donna.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I'm kind of waiting to answer left questions right here. So, right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Marvin. Thank you, everyone. Right. If you wish to have the evaluation form and the request form, I'll put it right here. So thank you. Okay, thank you, John. Okay. You have questions so far? Yes, ask later. Okay, thank you. ขอบคุณนะครับ Thank you so much. Okay. Now I will end the session นะครับ Thank you ขอบคุณครับ Bye bye.